everyone. Welcome to our podcast. My name is Janet.
My name is Bibi.
And we are the co-hosts for a new podcast that we're going to use to talk about TV dramas and possibly broader topics longer term. I guess to start off, in terms of like our area of focus, we're thinking of spending time talking about one of our big passions, which is Korean dramas specifically, although we've watched a number of like Asian dramas generally. So maybe we can talk about like our backgrounds with Korean dramas and dramas holistically, just to give you a sense of like what our experiences are. So actually, Bibi, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks, Janet. I can't remember how old I was when I first started watching them. I mean, it's kind of a side hustle. I probably started watching them when I was in middle school, on and off. I've just kind of watched them for the last probably 15 years of my life, which is kind of crazy to think about, actually. I mean, I guess if everyone just counted the number of hours they spent watching TV, that sounds pretty crazy, but it is very interesting to think about how one kind of drama was so much of the entertainment consumption from that
Yeah, that's
perspective.
the same for me actually. I actually remember when I started watching Asian dramas because I went to China back in, we would have been in high school, it's like almost 15 years ago, and basically my cousin at the time was obsessed with Korean dramas because obviously they were already really popular in China back then. And then she actually had me start, like we bought one of those like illegal DVDs. And the first one we bought actually was like a Taiwan drama called Meteor Garden, which I mean you've probably heard
Oh,
of.
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
hasn't heard of that?
Exactly. And like, I mean, we're both, for the viewers' reference, we are actually not Korean, even though we think Korean dramas, we are big fans and we, I think, have seen enough to where we get the jargon and like know the sort of cliche sayings that come up a lot, but we're both Chinese. Anyway, so Taiwan dramas was obviously an easier, like, going into that because I can speak the language, and Meteor Garden's like such a classic. I feel like Taiwan dramas actually back in the early 2000s were really popular, and then they like quickly lost quality, and that's when like Korea just became the next big thing.
You know, it's funny because I don't know if you watched some of these like Netflix micro documentaries at some point. One of them was about K-pop and like the sort of proliferation of Korean dramas. And it's really interesting, like to your point, it's like around that time when Korea introduced this idea that like basically media and culture needs to be an export from Korea. And they really focused on like almost like from an assembly line perspective, putting together drama and entertainment groups and just like sort of really have high frequencies of new groups and new shows coming out. And I think that's really when that really took over Asia. And then at this point, you know, there's major streaming companies that just have all kinds of Korean drama for the average American consumer as well.
Mm-hmm. I know. I think like yeah, it's crazy how the output has like I don't know, probably grown like 20x in the last decade because there's just so many bands and the shows. There's so many shows that because it used to be like because I'm sure we all read Drama Beans if we're like in this site, but you know, it used to be like they would feature like three dramas at a time, right? Because there'd only be the three networks that were airing them. Like I remember I would like so basically I'd be watching all of them, but that was kind of the only selection you had. And now it's like there's 10 dramas at any given time because of like you know obviously the cable networks, then like the big three still make them, and then like all like Rakuten makes their own dramas, Netflix makes their own dramas. Like it's yeah, it's really it's like you can't keep up with them. So I mean that's partly why it's kind of fun though to talk about them because I'm sure you know there's just a lot of content out there to review.
Yeah, agreed.
So for our first session, I figured we could start by talking about our top five, I guess, to get started. Yeah, five dramas. And I don't think it has to be just Korean dramas, just like whatever. Like, I guess we're focused on Asian entertainment this time, but mine happen to be Korean dramas, but that's because like I have probably seen like 100 Korean dramas for every like 10 like other genre
I
dramas
feel
or
like you've
like
seen
country.
every single Korean drama that's been made.
Yeah. And there's no lie, like we were talking about the quality dip in Taiwan dramas. There came a point, I think, in like 2010 when Taiwan dramas just became like almost unwatchable because they're like so over the top in terms of the acting and in terms of like the music, and it's like you can't even take it seriously because it's like so farcical and like
Mhm.
it's not super well acted, I think, by comparison. There wasn't a whole lot of people, I think, in the Taiwan entertainment world, so you kind of see the same people, and not all of them were, in my opinion, that talented. So
Very honest point of view.
yes. All right, so maybe I give one and then you'll give one.
Sure.
I don't know if we'll have any overlap because my list is pretty, I think, obscure actually. Well, some of them are very popular, but
And just to clarify, are you giving them from the order of like most to least, or doesn't
let's
really
do
have to
least
fall
to
under
most. Yeah, let's do
least to
least to
most?
most.
Okay.
And there is some flux because I do like all of these for very different reasons. But, all right, so let's just start. Number five for me is the best hit. And I think I have recency bias on this one because I was just like rewatching it on the Rakuten Viki app. So I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not.
Yeah, so
When was it made?
it was 2017, so about 3 years ago.
Mm,
And basically, it's a time traveling drama, but it's mainly a comedy. So it's not really meant to be taken seriously. There's no rational mythology for the time travel. But it's basically this pop star in the 90s gets transported in time, like through this strange typhoon event and like a stairwell. And he ends up in like 2017, basically. So like over like 23 years later. And then he encounters sort of the people that he worked with in the past when he was like a big singer and kind of actually betrayed. And it's directed by you'll definitely know his name or you'll like have recognized him. It's like Cha Tae-hyun, and we're not Korean again, so we don't necessarily pronounce that correctly, but it's like the guy from My Sassy Girl, you know, so his career,
yeah.
like the comedian. Yeah, yeah. So he directed it and he acted in it. So he's like the, I guess, main other character, although really it centers around like five different people. And the stars Yoon Shi-yoon, and I love Yoon Shi-yoon. I think he's like just such a charismatic actor and he can do like comedy and drama really well. And I think he gets the chance to do both, but does star him, and it sort of features like, you know, he's on the younger side, so it does kind of center around his relationships with the younger people, which are his future love interest, and then like you know, two other characters that are related to Cha Tae-hyun's character. And then goes for it's 16 normal episodes but like 32 half episodes because, you know, they started splitting the episodes up. And I just like it because it's super upbeat, and I like the music actually, which makes sense because it is like about him as a music star. So they have a
Mhm.
really good soundtrack, and I like the romance too. I know it's controversial, so I won't give it away, but like I personally really liked it, and that's actually what pushed it to the top for me.
Got it. It's really cool. I have to check it out.
Yeah, I'm making my boyfriend watch it, so
How is he doing with that, by the
he likes
way?
it. He likes the upbeat comedic Korean dramas. Like he does not. I tried to make him watch, you know, the Netflix one, It's Okay to Not Be Okay, and he
Mhm.
like could not watch that because it's so dark. And he's not as into the romance either, so I think he needs like something else to carry him, which is usually like the comedy. So he's good with that one. We might actually continue, which is why I'm rewatching it actually, because I'm watching it with him. So it's been good so far. Although it is a little slow. That's why it's number five. It's really good, but it starts
Mhm.
really slow.
Yeah, some of them do have to, you do have to give them some time for a few episodes before it picks up.
Yeah.
Takes a little more patience than the typical American drama that, like one pilot episode and you
Oh
have to
yeah.
kind of just decide. I actually think this one is on your list as well. So for me, I really like Touch Your Heart.
So it's not, but it's definitely, I think, in my top 10. And we're actually rewatching that too. It's funny. We're like
Oh yeah?
alternating between this and the best hit. And it's like, yeah, because it's so light and cute and exactly like
Yeah,
what Canadians like.
exactly. So it's like, I really like, so it's a TVN production, which is really nice because I feel like they take more risks with their production because they're not one of the major networks. And the story is obviously about this actress who basically had a scandal and couldn't really be an actress anymore, who gets this kind of big break on this role. But as a prerequisite for getting this role, she needs to intern at a law firm in order to familiarize herself with the legal fields. And in the process, she falls in love with this very unlikely, again, kind of cliched, but unlikely partner at this law firm who is very cold and just,
I
I
know,
guess,
he's
not
so cold.
interested.
But he's so, that's why it's like so, you know, you're swept into it because you just want to see him like lose that coldness and, you know, warm up to her.
Exactly. And I especially like Lee Dong-wook. Is that how you pronounce his name in this film? In
Oh
this,
yeah, Lee Dong-wook. Yeah, 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 the main guy.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I
yeah. Because I feel like it really challenged him to do something a little different. I feel like he's always had roles where his character is very one-dimensional. Like you
hmm
show one side, and whereas this one really kind of, you have to have that side where you are very, hard to get to know and basically a hard nut to crack, and then you also sort of soften as this new person enters into your life and kind of bring you out of your shell. So like I thought that was really interesting, especially coming off of like Goblin. I think it was like probably his first TV series after Goblin, which was such a big production and so well received, right?
hmm
So I did think it was really worthwhile because it was really sweet and just like easy to watch.
Yeah. I actually, because it's funny because I was gonna bring up Goblin, and so you clearly watched it as well. I did not like Goblin, and I actually hated both of their
Interesting.
characters in Goblin. I don't know how you felt, like, because both the main stars are obviously from Goblins. What did you
Yeah,
think?
I liked Goblin. I could see why you didn't like it. Like, well, tell me what you
Why do you
don't
think
like
I didn't
about
like it?
it.
That's what I can
I
ask.
think it was very slow at the beginning. I
Yes.
think the chemistry is very much missing between Gong Yun and the main lead
The
woman.
girl, yeah. Oh my God, what's her name? Yeah. Anyways, they
She's
people know what we're
she's in
talking about.
Parasite. I forget her name.
No, she's not. No,
um,
no, no, she's not. Actually, no, it's the Park So-dam's in Parasite. They both have monoliths. I think that's why they're super distinguished, I
are
guess,
you serious?
amongst like other actresses. Yeah, yeah. So it's actually a different actress, but they're both well known for being young, like natural beauties, right?
Oh my
Yeah, I'm
God,
really
I'm so
blanking on her
sorry.
name. No, I mean you don't have to apologize to me. It's I think
Why did I
probably
think
a
it was
common
the same
confusion.
person? Oh my
Well,
gosh, they look
they have a
very
similar
similar.
look. Like they have very similar like facial like I don't know like
Yeah.
energy, I think, and they're like the same age, so no, it's very Kim Go-eun. There we go. That's her name.
Oh, Jesus, thanks. That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I liked it because I thought it didn't fall under the sort of formulaic. I was just saying how like it usually, in Korean dramas, like I like Goblin because I think it took some creative risks. It was 16 episodes, but like I feel like they really did not follow a formula necessarily. I mean, it was really kind of all over the place if we're really being honest, but I thought the way that they conveyed the themes was very artistic, which is not typically how they think about it because they're always trying to sort of like follow the storyline, make sure people can like be interested. But Goblin took some of these risks, and I thought it was pretty successful in that
I
perspective.
think so too. It was so pretty also, right? The
Yeah.
entire filming. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely to date the prettiest K-drama I've seen in terms of like the atmosphere, the scenery. And it was
Yeah.
kind of excessively show though, because I feel like sometimes they would just like spend like 10 minutes because they set it up so pretty and just like linger on the shot, you know what I mean? And that'd be like when he's like back hugging her against like the Alps, right? Or not the Alps obviously, but like the mountains in the background. Like in
Yes.
their like all white like merchandise like ski gear, right? Because
Yeah,
there's a
that's right.
lot of product placement in that too with
Speaking,
one
I'm
of the
so
dramas.
glad. I'm so glad we're like moving away from that now with like Netflix and Rakuten going into, I feel like, production for
Yeah,
K-dramas.
we are, but then like I feel like there's still like PPL even in the Netflix like funded shows. Like
But
weird to
less,
say.
I feel like less obvious, right?
Yeah, the subways are very obvious, sadly. Because it's okay to not be okay. I'm pretty positive it's like funded by Netflix, and like there has been like literally five subway shots. Like
Are you
it was, and
serious?
yeah, in like I'm not even all the way through the drama, but there's and then like those beverage shots where they have like the sponsored beverage and they're like taking sips. Yeah, it's like actually almost as bad as it was in Goblin and some of the others that
To
unfortunately
be
that
fair,
doesn't
I
seem to be
didn't.
going away.
Well, you know how I used to live in New York and that fried chicken place? I had
Yeah,
never gone
wait,
there
which one?
before Goblin. The
Oh
olives,
yeah, yeah, the one that they feature. It's like the
yeah, very
same.
heavily featured. I
It was
never gone.
like
It was this like sketchy store in K Town where you like get it from like some weird counter. You don't even know when it was made.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I actually did too, though. I know I had so many fried chicken cravings after. I forget the brand now, but yeah, I know what you're talking about because I literally
no,
went
I think it's
there
like
as well.
olive something, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Olives.
olive chicken. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's a big favorite of mine actually. They do have good fried chicken, but yeah, I mean product placement works. So I think. Oh, and you know what else? I was in H Mart and I bought the ginseng packets. Not,
Oh yeah.
because they always like are drinking those like ginseng packets that you like cut the little tab off and then you're like holding the pouch. So
Yeah.
I literally saw that at the checkout line and I was like, oh my God. Then I was like, I have to try it because they like so many dramas, like they say it's so good for your health, right? Like the mom's always drinking it. So, so I did succumb to that. And it was, anyways, there.
That's
All right,
great.
sorry. All right, keep going.
Well, no, it's your turn.
Oh, okay. All right. So my, I guess number four on the list is The Princess's Man. So I don't know if you've
Mm,
seen that. It is
I
significantly
have seen it.
older.
It's
Oh, you've
really
seen
old
it.
and it's the
Good.
same lady as Touch Your Heart.
No, it's a different lady. It's Moon Chae-won. She's in Flower of Evil, if you watch that. I love her. She's actually definitely in like my top five Korean drama actresses, which
Let
someday
me
we can
check
talk
if
about
I've
too.
seen this one. I
Yeah.
think I've seen this one.
You probably have because it was like fairly, I guess like
2011, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It was
Mhm.
pretty long. It was a long time ago, but it was really big. I think it had like
Yeah, yeah,
20% ratings and higher in Korea at the time, which is
yeah.
pretty decent. And it actually starred. Oh, you'll see this guy actually. So I, because he's on other dramas on my list. Park Ji-woo, right? Which I know he's
Yes.
super controversial because of his like scandal. I don't know if you're familiar
Yeah.
with it. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So
Hmm.
I don't think we need to get into that. But like for me,
Wait,
like.
but
Uh-huh.
what is the scandal? Just to kind of
Oh, sure.
give
So like
context.
he basically had a there's no good way to put it. Like a a rape scandal. Not good. But it was yeah, I mean it was like a decade ago at this point. It happened like right after he filmed Cheongdongnam is where speaking Korean would help. Cheongdongnam Alice, the yeah,
Hmm.
anyways, that drama, which I think was 2013. So actually I think it literally happened in 2013 and he
Hmm.
basically went on a date with someone and I think and then she basically went out and made accusations against
Yeah.
him. So and I think what the public was really turned off by was obviously, Korea is a much more conservative society than the US. So I think, this is a big deal when an actor is accused of something like that. And obviously I
Hmm.
mean, it's not good in any country. And then she was a lot younger than him because he was like 35 or something around that time and she was 21. So the whole
Hmm.
thing was kind of icky, like regardless of whether it was consensual or not, I guess. And then they ended up
Right.
settling out of court, so nobody really knows what happened. And a lot of people like, he was banned from TV for like 3 years. I think for 3 years he had to in Korea. He did work, I think, in China
Hmm.
on a few projects, but anyways, for me though, like not that it didn't bother me, but I think like I just had such a like I love his dramas, the dramas that he was in because they were really like I mean there's a reason there's a lot of them are still in my favorites list is because
Hmm.
they really like touch a chord with what I crave in a Korean drama, which is like that buildup of romance and I do like his acting style. I think he brings like a level of charisma to like his acting that like Lee Dong-wook, for instance, like I don't get that same amount with
Hmm.
him.
Yeah.
So that's a commonality in the roles I've seen. Like I think he really does commit to like his parts and he brings this energy that's like, really appealing as a viewer. So The Princess's Man is a feudal era drama. So it's in the Chosun era of Korea, which is, I guess this would be it's like late 1800s or early 1900s. And then basically it's a Romeo and Juliet type story. So it's like the
Hmm.
girl is the daughter of this guy who's one, like, I guess they're called like ministers, and then he's the son of another. And it's based on actually a true story, relatively speaking, not the romance, but the actual
Hmm.
battle between the ministers. And it adds the complexity of like the relationship with the children. And I think it's beautifully produced. I think it's worth watching, just in general, because it's super well paced. It is slow. It's one of those dramas you do kind of have to sit through the first 8 episodes, unfortunately. And it's good. It's not like ever like not interesting, but Chosun era dramas are very political in nature, right? So it's a lot of ministers talking. Anyways, what were your thoughts on it?
I agree with everything you said. I think the thing about Korean dramas that were like, or any Asian dramas in general, it's like it's so interesting to see these historical pieces because there're just so many. It's almost like you suspend your disbelief a little bit, and I'm sure you get this
Hmm.
with like maybe like Catherine the Great or something too here, but like you really do kind of feel like you're transported to a different universe, and you feel like you are
Hmm.
living in a very different society, and you definitely feel their pain and all the struggles. And I do have to say, anything that's palace related in general, the level of scheming, the political
Yes.
scheming in any of these shows are just mind-boggling.
I know that's like actually why I generally don't like these palace dramas because there's so much of that. It's like, the whatever one guy is like writing secret documents that then he mails about another guy like through and it's like I don't know, there's like a level of disbelief I have about these things too. And the
Yeah,
Princess Man suffers from that too, because I guess this is technically supposed to span like probably years, right? But the way it happens
yeah,
in the drama, it's as if he like writes a letter and then immediately, it's like put into effect. And I'm like, I don't think things were like that. Communication was that good like back then. And like the main, I don't know if he's a villain, but like the dad who ends up ruling over Chosun, Korea. So he has so much power, right? That it's like
hmm,
even before he takes the throne, where he's like, cajoling the former crown prince who's like a young boy. Like I just never really understood why the crown prince was unable to like at all stand up for himself and kind of just had to cower below because I'm like you're crown prince or actually no, he was a king even at one point because his dad died, right? So I'm like surely if you're the king you have more power than this minister, but then the way the drama portrays it, it's like no, this just kind of have to believe that the minister has the say over everything. And that part I did not like, which is why the palace intrigue stuff was not to my taste. But the
mm.
romance is great, right? Like, don't you,
That's
I don't know
great.
what your thoughts were, but it is like one of the most build up, forbidden romances that I've ever watched in just any, landscape of entertainment.
Yeah,
And especially with it's like he's got the revenge plot. Like, once he starts the revenge plot, it basically gets 10x more interesting. And that's like probably episode 12, so it takes forever. It's like 24 episodes, but yeah, once you get there, you can't stop watching. And you kind of have to watch what's before that because you have to like get the build up to their romance and stuff, unfortunately. But I think the
yeah,
drama as a whole is like beautifully executed.
definitely. They're just beautiful to watch, like the costumes and everything too. I feel
Yeah,
like definitely like
totally.
what I enjoy about these historical pieces.
All right, your turn.
I don't know which one I'm on, but I also really liked, this is an old one. Well, I guess not like that old. It was like probably 2014. My Love from the Start.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely seen it. I think most people have seen it. I didn't finish it. It was a little slow for my taste, especially, well, like maybe you tell about it and then.
No, for sure. So basically, the premise of the show is so here's something you need to know about me. I watch things that basically tells you to suspend your disbelief. Like, I feel like Korean drama for me is like an escapism. So,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I
I think it is
suspend
for most people.
any,
Yeah.
right, any sort of sense of realism when I watch these things. It's almost like these things would never happen in the universe. So,
Yeah.
from that perspective, like it was really like it definitely fits that bill. The story is about this guy who was an alien
Yeah.
who landed on Earth on the in the Joseon era and then basically has been living on Earth as an alien for many hundreds of years. And the romance that he ends up sort of developing with this female singer, she is, well, is she a singer or an actress? She was like an
She's an
actress,
actress.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yep.
She's an actress. Yeah. And they're just like really fun to watch and it's just like stuff that just nobody would believe. But it's very interesting.
I was gonna say like they're also both super beautiful, like both the actors. It's
That's
like Jung
true.
Ji-hoon, right, who's like, one of the most well known for her beauty in the K-drama world,
Yes.
right? And then Kim Soo-hyun, who's very attractive. Although I never liked him, I will say before it's okay to not be okay. I felt like because I saw him in Dream High and that
Uh-huh.
obviously My Love from Another Star, and he was always like too kid-like, I guess, because he's got like that. baby boy face, you know? It's like a very small face, which I think Koreans find very attractive. But
Yeah.
anyways, he wasn't like
Well, he
manly
was
enough.
so young when he first started acting, I feel like
Yeah.
he was 18 or something,
Oh
right?
my gosh, I saw him in, yeah, Giants. So Giant, super old show, obviously, but like, and it's crazy because now him and the Yeonji-gu, who played the children in Giant, are both like main actors, like really well positioned main actors. So for
Hmm.
me, it's actually kind of I can't really take that out of my head when I see them because I see them as like the kids. So like, you know, and he was at least like in his teens when he did that, so it wasn't like quite as icky of a transition as it is for me for the other kid who's in Hotel Del Luna, right? So that guy I
Right.
like cannot see as a love interest. It just really icks me out because I was probably I mean I would have been in my 20s by the time he was like 12, right? So like, and he was like playing a child, right? And so that's like my main experience with him. Anyways, yeah, Kim So Hyun played the like older brother, and that's what launched his career, I think. Well, that, and then he
Hmm.
got Dream High, and then all of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I actually thought some of his best work was like some of the movies he was in. Did you ever
Oh, I
watch?
didn't see
I
this.
guess I watched a lot of his stuff in 2013 and 14. Now that I'm thinking about it, this movie about the North Korean spy
I was
in South Korea,
covertly, greatly, something like that, right? That's what it's called.
Secretly Greatly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay.
thought he definitely like frog leaped that sort of to your point, like his like younger self in that movie because it was very much like, I mean, yeah, he still looks like a kid. I mean,
Yeah.
even now, but I think his ability to sort of deliver on the character was pretty impressive
Okay.
for
I'll have
some
to
of his
check that
years.
out. I'm not
It was a good movie. Yeah.
It was okay. Sometimes I feel like Korean movies are like overly depressing, so I stay away from them. 'Cause, you know, because even the ones like marketed as comedies. Oh, because I saw The Thieves, which was the one where he and the girl from My Love from the Star, right? So like Jung Ji-hyun and him were paired up somewhat, but then like both their characters were killed in The Thieves. It was like really depressing. It went from like Ocean's 11, like that was all of the trailer was like, oh, this is Korean Ocean's 11. It's gonna be so fun, and then like halfway through, like literally half the characters are killed, and then the rest of the movie is like this dark revenge plot. And
Oh my gosh.
it's
That is
really
not at all what you
depressing.
expect. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
was
is super
so
depressing.
like most Korean movies, I mean Parasite included, right? It's like frickin' crazy violent and depressing. And that The Thieves was not violent, but it was like, you know, the same very dark undertones. So that's my struggle with them.
So maybe don't watch it because it's very depressing.
Okay, that's what I suspected. Yeah, that's part of the reason I didn't watch it because I was like,
Almost
this
like
probably can't end well. North Korean spy. Like, yeah.
it's like Parasite. If it's not depressing and people don't get killed, it's not a good Korean movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, I did like Parasite though, so maybe I will give it a try. All right, should I go next? So my third one on the list is Kingdom, which I know I've talked to you about,
Of
but
course.
you're not gonna
I'm
watch
too
it
scared to
'cause
watch it.
you really
I
not.
don't do well with zombie stuff. Like the Train to Busan gave me like nightmares for 2 months. I'm not kidding.
I will say though, Train to Busan was very, very depressing in the end. You know what I mean? Like in the typical
Yeah,
form
because
of
he
Korean movies.
dies.
Yeah, it's super depressing. Like literally the ending. I mean, I won't spoil it again for people who haven't seen it, but it's pretty bleak. Like, it's like there's
You
not
know,
much
it's
hope.
funny too, because they were saying how, they might make a sequel or whatever. It hasn't happened, and it's probably not going to happen. But like that's literally what it was like keeping me going as I watched the end. I was like Googling, is there a sequel to The Train to Busan? Because
Oh
this
gosh.
is too sad to be the end of this movie. Um,
Well, yeah. I mean, the good news with Kingdom is there is actually it's multi-season because it's Netflix produced, and so there is a sequel, and it is pretty like I'd say it's less depressing than Train to Busan, like significantly less depressing, despite being like as violent, if not more violent, because it's you know on Netflix based drama. It's honestly, I'm pretty sure they tried to make this a Game of Thrones type TV show, right? You can see it like the influence in terms of like the way they film it, the fact that like everything is super dark because you know Game of Thrones like everything's pitch black, like you can barely see
yes,
unless you're like yeah you like raise the whatever brightness of your screen. So
right.
that's the same issue at Kingdom. And it's also like the same pacing, the same level of violence, but no sex, right? It's a Korean drama, so and then basically it takes place. It's about so Jung Ji-hoon. Oh my God, no, Ju Ji-hoon. Sorry, not Jung Ji-hoon. Although Jung Ji-hoon is actually in the end of season 2. She makes a cameo, so she may be back in season 3, which is kind of cool. The my love from the star girl. So Ju Ji-hoon is the main star, and he plays a crown prince who finds out that his father is basically being hidden away by his stepmother, who's this very young and creepy woman, who's like younger than him and is supposedly carrying a child who, if the child is born and is a boy, then that would be the new crown prince because, he was technically a bastard son. So anyways, he then tries to figure out what happened to his father, and on the way, he basically meets this medical priestess person who's Baiduna. She's the, I guess, second main character in this, and then they basically have to work together to stop a zombie attack because his father's kind of, I'm gonna give it away, but like he's case one of like the zombie issue, and then he ends up like inadvertently infecting other people through kind of a really gross sequence. So this is the part that is disturbing. Like episode 1 is when the spread happens, and it is very off-putting how it happens. Like it definitely will give you the ugh. Like I thought I couldn't keep watching after it, but then I kept pushing, and then once you get to like, the start of episode 3, like end of episode 2, start of episode 3, it becomes more of an action drama, and it's actually, despite still being violent, because you're fighting zombies and stuff, it's less creepy, and so it becomes actually much less scary once you get to that point. So I do recommend it. I think it's wonderfully paced. I did watch season 2 also, which came out this year, and I was a little disappointed by it. It was still very good, like super engaging, but they changed directors, and it's like crazy how big of a difference like the director makes. And so
Of
he
course.
directed, I think, yeah, the first episode of season 2, and you can tell because it's like a really like it feels very aligned with like season 1. And then all of a sudden, they bring in the new director, and it kind of loses steam. And like some of the sequences, like the fighting especially, is just like unrealistic. Because you have to do it in such a way that like you believe that there's a true attack, and then some of the sequences in season 2, you're just like it's so gory, but it's not at all realistic, like what's going on. So that was my problem with it. But I do think there's a high chance it's coming back for season 3 if it hasn't been announced already, probably next March because that's when that tends to come out. And I'm
That's
really excited
exciting.
because it is, yeah, it leaves off like you think it's going to end, and I was like really disappointed they were going to end it that way, and then it, kind of anyways, it leaves things open, and I'm excited because it kind of takes it in a new direction too.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I'll have to muster up the courage to watch it. Maybe I'll
I mean,
start on
I got
episode
like
3.
3 of our coworkers to watch it, as you know. So, there is like universal appeal to it, and most of these folks like don't watch Korean dramas, so it is,
Ever, yeah, for sure.
yeah, like ever.
Well,
So,
and then the other thing you told me that was really helpful was don't do the dubbed version, do the caption.
no, definitely do the caption version. Like the dubbing isn't. If you like absolutely cannot deal with subtitles, then okay, but it's not great dubbing because I tried listening to it and it's like people with accents, which I guess is more realistic given they're like Korean, right? But it's really hard to understand them. Plus, like the volume is super off, so sometimes it's like too low. It's like they'll be talking and then like what they're saying is like super incomprehensible
Yeah.
versus like the Korean version is obviously original audio and it's like just much, much smoother. And plus, you get, of
Mhm.
course, the actual acting of the actor in the tones. So I think it's worth just, yeah, definitely do the subtitles.
Agreed. So my other one, I guess the third one, is this, are we on 3?
Yeah,
We definitely need to like maybe do a redo or edit. But this is help. I mean, this is fun. I like talking
I
about this
hope
with you.
people will enjoy listening to this. Well, I feel like you have to give color because I don't know who people are, if they're gonna like know all these dramas or if they're like new to it. I mean, they'll probably
Yeah.
know, to be honest, but it's okay. I'm sure they enjoy a recap.
Yeah. My third favorite was probably Weightlifting Fairy Kim Bok-Joo. Do you remember that
Oh,
one?
yes,
It was a really
yes.
cute, like feel good kind of one, like from
Mm-hmm.
2017. I love that the actress and actor got together after the show, but of course
I
they've
know, but
broken
then
up.
they
So
broke
sad.
up, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
sad? Yeah,
but
she's so pretty. I was gonna say the
she's
actress.
beautiful. Yeah, and I think she's just like so unpretentious. And she had to gain like I think 15 pounds for this
Yeah, I
to
heard
be
about that. I
to be more
mean,
realistic.
well, right, because she's like stick skinny, and super, super gorgeous. So it was like it was still like hard to believe. So I actually couldn't finish it, but I did watch
Mhm.
like I watched over half of it. So I got to
Mhm.
like the good, cute parts and stuff.
Yeah. So the reason I like it, the other thing I like about shows is probably in general, is just I really like a strong female lead. And this is definitely an example of that. It's
Mhm.
actually based on the real life of a Korean Olympic gold medalist for weightlifting.
Oh, I didn't
I
know
think,
that. Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
her name is Jang Ren. Terrible pronunciation, I know. But she is actually the inspiration behind the show.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that was the background for it. I don't like the guy. I think that's why I didn't get into it. And to be honest, it's also
Mm,
because I feel like he's also one of those people that looks too young for my
mm,
appeal, you know. Although I saw him in The Bride of the Water Gods, which I didn't finish
yeah.
either, to be fair. But
That was pretty terrible. I actually thought that was a
yeah,
really
it
terrible
wasn't.
show.
I liked the first episode, and then it like very quickly went down.
Like, if you want to watch a show where like nothing really happens, like watch that show.
It's like nothing happens, but it's like there's a lot of beautiful people. And that was like the point of the show, I guess. It was just like all these very, very pretty, because, you know, the girls, Shinsei Kyun's very, very pretty, and then
It's beautiful, yeah.
Crystal's in it, which I don't actually get
Mhm.
why Crystal is. I think she's like okay. I don't think she's like, you know, the prettiest looking like K-drama, Korean idol, whatever. But it's a lot of not great
A lot of,
actors, but very
but
pretty people.
star-studded aesthetics perspective. Yeah, sometimes that's all it takes, sometimes. Back to the weightlifting fairy one, I really liked it because what it showed was this like growth for the weightlifting character. And I like that how, they really kind of like took an inspiration and made it very personal by taking it back to like their sort of college days, which like everyone
Mhm.
could relate to, school related time periods in their lives, right? And I feel like there's something that's really nice about being able to watch something like that because you kind of feel that sort of like sense of camaraderie and everyone lifting each other up and like just being able to sort of grow through sort of making mistakes and learning from it. So I thought this show did a great job with that. The characters aren't perfect and they grow through it. And, it's less like this is one dimensional person who's always good or always bad. And I felt like that was really inspiring to think about as you like sort of think about actually like this is someone who won to go medal in
Mhm.
weightlifting, an Asian woman who did that, which is so impressive.
That is
So
really cool. I didn't know there
mhm.
was like the backstory, so that's no, it's very inspiring.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so then second on my list is Prosecutor Princess, which is
Oh,
have you seen it?
yes. Yes, I've seen
It's
that
so
one.
old. It's 2010, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's about this girl who grew up like very rich and spoiled, and she tests to become a prosecutor and passes, and so it's kind of about her journey through that. And then along the way, she meets So who's, you know, she always calls him that in the drama, the lawyer. So he is, turns out they have like a interesting connection through like her family basically, and anyways, it's kind of a like her career growth and like trajectory, but then combined with like slow build up, like romance, I guess, with Lawyer Soul. And it is with Park Shi-hoo again. So I told you like I really like his performance.
Is he making new things?
He is. He's in
Oh,
a drama
good.
now actually on Vicky. I just realized it's another Palace era drama and I have it on my list. I need to watch it. It's with the second lead girl from Miss Korea. I don't know if you ever saw
Oh.
Miss Korea. She's gorgeous, but she's not like the best actress, I would say, at least in stuff I've
Mm,
seen her in. She was also in that remake of Suits. Yeah, she was in the Korean remake of Suits. Anyway, so
mm,
she's in that too, and I need to check it out and see if it's any good. I watched him in My Golden Life most recently, which was kind
that's
of his
right.
career comeback, right? Because it was
Yeah.
like the first drama he did after all this years later, and it was a huge hit in Korea. It was like basically like 40% ratings or something crazy. It wasn't his first show, sorry. He did an OCN drama before that, and then he did that. I just love Prosecutor Princess. I feel like at this point it's more nostalgia for me because as
Hmm.
is number one, which we'll get to. But like I was very surprised by how much I ended up liking the drama like after I watched it. Because like when you first watch the first few episodes, it feels very frivolous and kind of dumb. I mean, it's like easy to watch. I was
Hmm.
in college at that time, I remember, so I was just looking for something light, so I was able to very like easily power through it. It's just kind of diverting. And then all of a sudden, you get to like basically the first kiss scene. You know what I'm talking about? There's like that iconic kiss scene in like
Hmm.
episode 6. I think it's what like I think set him on the landscape like Park Ji because like it was such a good kiss scene, even though it's not like it's nothing crazy, but it was just filmed so well and like the music was so good and like the circumstances and then the romance like was just really really sweet and super sort of it has that Romeo and Juliet feel to it again, like the forbidden romance esque nature, but then also they're like very well matched characters, and so you end up like just really rooting for them, and you like both of them because especially the main girl, like she does grow on you, and I love the
Hmm.
actress Kim So Yeon. She is so likable, and she unfortunately isn't in a lot of stuff now, but she is very talented and she brings like a lot of I think warmth to her characters.
Hmm.
So yes, I just like sort of everything about the drama, and I love the soundtrack, which of course kind of makes or breaks some shows as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're like so important. They're
Yeah,
like, I literally think they're like 30% of what makes a show really good.
yeah, exactly. Did
Yeah,
you watch it and did you like it or?
I liked it. I don't remember too much from it because it was so long ago.
I've
Um,
rewatched it like 3 times, so that's why.
oh wow. Yeah, I don't do well with rewatching dramas, but it was
Yeah,
definitely 10 years ago at this point, right? So,
it was a while.
it was
I
really,
only
I remember
rewatch
really
dramas
liking
I
it.
like.
No, 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 that's great.
Oh, I meant to talk about my criteria. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
yeah,
forgot about
tell us
that.
your criteria.
Okay, I know. So I wrote this down. All right, so number one, would I rewatch it? Right, so I think that's very important because obviously, if you wouldn't rewatch something, it's probably not that good and not worth like
Mhm,
your time, right? Okay, number
mhm,
two, was the ending satisfying? Number three, are the main characters compelling and very rootable? And then lastly, is the drama itself memorable? I know it's kind of a vague statement, but because some things like I mean, for you, this is clearly not a memorable drama, so it wouldn't go into your top list. But like there's some dramas you enjoy while you're watching, but they're like hot
mhm.
air, and then you immediately forget about it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, so I think it has to have something that like compels you. And for me, actually, to be fair, that's mainly the romance, because I think we, as women, do go into these dramas like mainly rooting for the romance and wanting to see what happens, and that's like what sticks with us, right, so to speak. And
Mhm,
that's what I think aside from Kingdom on my list is like the defining feature of all of these dramas.
mhm. No,
What
for
about
sure.
you?
I think I don't think rewatching is a criteria because I never do that for anything. I
Honestly, that saves
probably
you time, so it's better to
I
not do
probably
that.
I probably rewatched like 2 episodes from Game of Thrones, which is like my all-time favorite TV show. And
Oh,
that's like, saying a lot, I guess. But I would say it's definitely something that for me needs to be aligned to the values I want
oh,
society to really like champion. So like the way I see it, right? Like Korea is a pretty conservative society, and we talked about this in the context of like there's never sex in the TV shows. You do get them in the movies, and ultimately I think like there's probably like more sexism in terms of like women in a workplace or just
mm,
in general, like in Korean society than like maybe what we see in the US. And I love it when they can sort of put a strong female lead in there without making her too like cliche in terms
hmm
of the sort of societal context. Like, there's a lot of shows like that kind of has this like woman in distress and then some guy comes
right.
over or like many guys come over to save her. Like the show on Netflix right now, Was It Love, is a
Oh my
perfect
God, I was
example
just
of
gonna say
that.
that.
Right, like this one woman who's like a single mom, you're like, oh, this is so powerful, and then like it's like she can't get anything done without these four guys who are
The
circling her.
four men who are,
Yeah.
yeah, like all from her past, all conveniently like better off than her. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's
Like
fair.
that
But
damsel in distress kind of like narrative does not work for me because it just pisses me off. So like for me
no,
it's like,
actually, I completely
yeah,
agree with you. Actually, I
yeah.
didn't even think of putting this in the criteria, but looking at my list, honestly,
Mhm.
that is also a criteria because all of these dramas I'm recommending to you guys is like they all feature very strong female characters. Because and that
Mhm.
kind of goes into actually when I say the main characters are compelling, it
Mhm.
has to not just be the man carrying the show, which is
Yeah.
unfortunately what happens in a lot of dramas. Because the woman's just the candy, right? The quote unquote, just works a ton of jobs, somehow super positive and upbeat and super poor despite all these jobs and, needs someone to come in and lift her up. And yeah, no, I hate
Who
that.
are all these screenwriters? They're just copying off each other's scripts,
And it's
making
like written
different
by
shows.
women too, which I mean, again, I think it goes to again the cultural difference with Korean
Yeah.
society, because yeah, it is unfortunately super sexist. And Touch Your Heart, well, no, Touch Your Heart was good because like she's after her own career interests like the whole time,
Hmm.
even though she is a
Yeah.
secretary, but that's a means to get where she needs to be. So
Right.
it's
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, and there's like some level of mutual respect for each other, I feel like, which
yeah,
is nice to see. Yeah.
totally.
On that note, the other show I like is from even older than that. It's 2007.
Uh-huh.
And it's called Coffee Prince. I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh my gosh, wait, is that your number one or is that just another show you thought of?
Number two, I think,
That's
right?
your
Are we
number
on
two.
number two? Yeah. Um,
I don't know. It's okay.
am I? It doesn't matter. Well, I like it because it fits all these criteria. Like, I always think it's so funny when like they do those like women pretending to be men thing,
Yes, I
Asian
actually like
dramas.
them a lot. I mean, there's not that many of them. It's that one, and then it's like Sunken Kwon Scandal, right? That's the other
Yes,
big one. Yeah,
but that was like easier because it's historic.
correct.
Where
Even
it's
it's
just like,
even though like, and she was like way, way prettier. You know what I mean? It's way like
mhm,
theoretically less realistic, but because she's in a huge robe the whole time, it's
mhm.
like, yeah,
You can't really tell when you
right,
wear stuff that's like extra, extra large. Like it's just the same underneath it
exactly.
all. But yeah, I like the show because, like you were saying, it's nostalgic. It's probably one of the first Korean shows I've ever watched. And it just like they keep it really light and fun, which I think
Yeah.
back in 2007, I feel like a lot of shows were just tragedies, like Songs of Autumn and like
Yes.
The Winter's
Uh,
Tale or whatever, where everyone dies from leukemia or some sort of cancer.
I watched so many of them and I would just like bawl my eyes out. And yeah, and like in retrospect, I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I watch them? They just like made you like your heart hurt for like days after. Yeah.
So I thought at the time this was somewhat unique in the sense that it was like a fresh idea. It's a comedy,
Yeah.
and yeah, like again, it's like mutual respect, right? Like this idea that this woman, even though she's like, you don't feel sorry for her, like even though she's like poor and working many jobs, like she's very independent.
Yeah.
Um, and she was mistaken for a man, not that she was pretending to be a man.
Right. And they do a good job with her. Like she has like an you could kind of see it. I mean, obviously she's still very pretty, but I think
Yeah,
she had some qualities where you could be like, okay, she could be just like a pretty boy. Like
yeah,
and her voice
exactly.
was a little bit deeper, I think, relative to like other actresses. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really fun and just easy to watch. And obviously, Gong Yoon's like one of his first major roles probably was in this show. So
Oh yeah.
he's like one of my all-time favorites for sure.
He is very aside from in Goblin, which he was still
Which
very
he
good
hates.
looking, but like I just did not find his character at all appealing. Yeah. I mean, he's generally like he's a solid actor in anything. So,
Hmm.
totally. Yeah, it's too
Yeah.
bad she's not in a lot of stuff anymore. Yoon High because of her like
Hmm.
various messes, scandals, like yeah.
Hmm.
Because I actually really like her. She's
I thought she was
yeah,
actually
she's
one of the strong actresses that's not just pretty.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And she had I watched her in a bunch of stuff that she did after, none of which were obviously as successful or like well done,
Mm.
but like she was always really good in them, I thought. The dramas were themselves like crazy and not well written, which is a common problem in a lot of dramas, unfortunately. But
Mm.
she like definitely, I always thought she was very talented.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're number one. All right, so number one for me is Queen of Reversals, which actually I think
Oh,
goes well with the women like theme that we're
yeah.
kind of on. Yeah. Did you watch that, or do you know what Queen of Reversals is?
It's from 2010.
Yes. It's
I don't think I've seen it.
okay. It's another Park Ji-hoon drama. Um,
Of course
and
it is.
He did it literally right after he did Prosecutor Princess. So that's why
Mhm.
it's like kind of back to back. That era was just like very good for him anyway. So
It's
he
great
yeah, anyways,
ratings
but
across the board.
yeah, and it is I mean, look, when I was watching it, I didn't think it would be like a top one type of show because it is very sort of substanceless in the beginning because it's a workplace drama essentially, right? And you know those are
Ah.
very hit or miss and kind of frivolous in a lot of K-drama settings. There's basically this woman who Kim Nam-joo, who is obviously like a legend in Korean like
Mhm.
acting. So she plays this woman who's like a strong like boss and who's very feared and respected at her workplace, which is I think a skincare company. She's being mentored by this older woman who is single and basically tells her that to be successful, you have to like continue to be single. And that scares her. And so she basically goes and like pursues this younger man. He's not like that much younger. This isn't Park Ji-hoo, by the way. It's the reason it's called Queen of Reversal. So she pursues this other guy, Jung Joon. You guys can look him up. I forget his name, but he is younger and he's new to the team, and she basically like seduces him, and they end up getting married. And yeah, but like it's mutual, and they end up getting married, and then it like flashes forward 5 years, and they have a kid. But then like kind of along the way, she pisses off the older woman mentor
Mm.
because you know the mentor like realizes she's going out and getting herself a husband to not become like her and takes
Mm.
offense to that, and then she ends up getting fired from the company, and then her like husband, or she quits, and then her husband works there, and then 5 years later we pick back up. She's a housewife at that point. Her
Mm.
life is like not great. Her husband's kind of a doofus. Like, then she basically tries to go back to work, and it's kind of about like the journey after. I don't know, how much should I spoil? I guess we can spoil a little bit. So basically, when she goes back, Park Ji-woo plays the character who's like the son of like the CEO of the company. So it is, it's a little cliche from that sense, but like he basically
Mhm.
is like a illegitimate son. So he has like no standing with his family, and he's like trying to this is his first like real job with the company, and he first doesn't take it seriously, but then he ends up like leading this team that then Kim Nam-joo gets a character gets placed on, and then they are sort of a team of rejects, and then the whole story is about like the 10 of them or so who like work together to try to prove that their team is like worth keeping, just overcoming the circumstances that they were put in, because the company basically thought all of them were people that should have been fired,
Mm.
and was like trying to make an excuse to fire them all by putting them together. So it's very uplifting. And then of course this was very unconventional at the time. Like it's still probably the only drama I've seen to do this, but she ends up falling in love with Park Soo-hoo's character.
Mm.
After, though, she gets a divorce from her bumbling idiot husband. But that happens like in episode 14. It's a long drama. It's like 32 episodes, so it does take some slogging through in the beginning, but you are unsure what's going to happen the entire time. And honestly, I don't even think the writer intended for her to get together with Park Ji-woo's character, because he was like clearly cast as the second lead if you look at like
Mhm.
all the initial reports. And also they extended the drama by like 7 episodes, like a significant number of episodes, because normal
Oh my
extensions are like
gosh.
1 to 2 episodes. Yeah, so they basically extended it so they could rewrite the romance for her to end up with him, partly because of like fan outcry, partly because the writer probably just realized it makes a lot more sense because her husband was so unlikable. And so it ends up being very uplifting. I mean, there's a whole lot of drama you have to kind of go through before that, but she ends up getting her life together, basically. It's by the same writer, by the way, as My Love from Another Star. So this is
Oh,
one of her works before she like became, I'd say, really big. She did
yeah.
Queen of Housewives too, which was the
Hmm.
bigger version of this show, because I feel like Queen of Reversals gets forgotten oftentimes because it just wasn't as well rated, and it is, again, like I love it for reasons that it's so. I read the Drama Beans review of it, right, and the person was like, oh, it's like you keep wanting her to end up together with the second person, but you think it's like a unicorn, and then you're just like, what, waiting for it, and then it's like, oof, there's a unicorn, like it
Hmm.
happens. And it's like still very believable, even though it is unexpected. And so I think the drama really balances that. And the character development is great. She is sort of the exact like representation, I think, of like a stronger woman who, like, again, yeah, gets her feet together, and she's
Hmm.
also older than the guy.
Hmm.
And I think older women, younger guy dramas are definitely to my taste, at least. So
That makes sense. That makes sense. That's really cool. I probably need to check that one out. I don't think I've seen it. But it sounds really cool. Like also like really ahead of its time for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
I
because
don't feel like they've done
divorce
anything
is
like it.
like
Yeah,
never addressed. Yeah, like nobody ever divorces in, in at least Korean dramas, right? And so which is why it was so unlikely that with the outcome sort of like they were brave enough to kind of write that in.
definitely.
Yeah. Give it
Um,
a look. You might like it.
yeah, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, my number one is really old. I didn't realize how old it was, and I just looked it up. It's from 2003. Speaking of, it's
Oh.
like I think this is one of the main proponents of like Korean drama exports. It was like, so I'm reading Wikipedia right now, I'll be frank, but like it was exported to 91 countries and has earned $103 million USD
Holy
worldwide.
crap.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Um,
money. I didn't
that's a
realize
lot
that
of
was.
money. And then I mean, honestly, the moment I say it, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm
I'll
sure you've
try
seen
to.
it. So it was the English name is Jewel in the Palace, and the Korean name is
Oh, okay.
Daejeon Gun. Gun?
Yeah, yeah, Jang. Okay, I have actually not seen it, but I obviously
Oh,
know about it. I know, I just because it's like 50 episodes, right?
54 episodes. And this is like literally what Chinese dramas are today. Like
Yeah,
they're all like 50 episodes and it's like who has the time. But
right.
I watched it when I was, I guess 2003. I was in high school. So I guess I had time. But it's based again on a real story. Basically,
Hmm.
the story is so it stars this famous Korean actress from she's like 50 now,
Yep.
Lee Young-ae, and it basically she was this orphaned kitchen, basically like she was working in the palace kitchens, just doing whatever odd end jobs here and there, and then she became the actual like first female physician in the palace in
Mm.
Korean history. And this is like we're talking like really like ancient times, like 1400s. So
Right.
like definitely women had no stature in society, let alone like you probably didn't learn to read, and you definitely didn't have any way of advancing yourself. But it's a really powerful story because in the show, and I don't know if this is true in real life, like she lasted through five different emperors' reigns. So like
Wow.
yeah, and like in the show at the end she performs a cesarean uh,
Oh my
um,
God. Oh God.
delivery
That's
of the queen's
really
baby.
advanced.
Yeah, in the 1400s. So I don't know how much of that is true.
Holy
uh,
cow. No, no, I mean, what was appealing about it for you? Because, like, it sounds very political to me, so that's why I never watched it.
yeah, it was super political. I think the nice thing about it is, okay, so taking two steps back, I liked it a lot because it's really long, you get to follow her as she grows up, becomes more sure of herself, and like really follow that journey, and you become really invested in her success.
Mm.
And to your point, it's very political, but they did a really good job not making it. I mean, she does do her fair share of political maneuvering, but
Hmm.
like it wasn't just like one dynasty and it's done. Like it was like she lasted through all these different reigns, and through this longevity, what you're really seeing is her ability to just keep improving and learning despite the challenges that she's seeing. So I
Hmm.
don't know, maybe I really do like political dramas ultimately,
Yeah,
because if we're really being honest, Game of Thrones is more political strategery than like anything else.
it is. I agree.
So it's my kind of show. Strong women. So my criteria, as we know now, it needs to be completely like suspend your disbelief. It needs to have a strong female lead, and if there's like some sort of political scheming in there, that's even better. So here we
I
are.
can't, I don't know. Yeah, I may, I may try to watch it. I really don't like political. It's actually why I didn't like Game of Thrones like very much at all.
Mhm,
So I don't know if I would necessarily like this, but I do think it sounds really cool though. Like just her whole story. So yeah,
mhm.
maybe worth checking out for that.
Yeah, it's just cool to know that there was an actual female royal physician in the Joseon
Right.
era, just something I
Oh,
didn't know
actually,
before.
Kingdom features. Okay, she's not a like royal physician, but she's a physician. That's
Oh,
the yeah, that's what Baiduna's character is. She's like which is
different
why
time.
she's involved in tracking down the cause of like the zombie virus.
Got it. Very
Yeah,
different, different take on the
very
same
different
person.
setting, but still a strong female doctor in the feudal era.
That's wonderful. I love to hear that.
All right. Well, I guess we're over an hour. I mean, I think once we edit this, it'll be probably an hour. Okay, because
Oh
it's our
my
first
God.
episode, so we need people to like
Yeah.
understand our tastes and everything. So I guess talking about what's to come, right? I think we can really, I mean, assuming we get any listeners, they can leave us comments of what they want to hear. And otherwise, we're planning to, talk about, I guess, current shows we're watching. So obviously, like
Yeah.
updates on K-dramas, and then
Hmm.
also, I guess we can also branch out and, talk about.
We can talk about anything, like how it's like to work in tech,
Oh,
I
yes.
guess,
Yeah,
right?
we could a career advice for people because as listeners may have gleaned, we're in our early 30s, so we have, we're women in the workforce. So we
AKA the strong
yeah, I know
preference
we're
for
strong.
women-based
Well,
job.
I mean, we both have MBAs. We have worked our way up. We're both daughters of immigrants, so I think
Yeah.
that's kind of
When did
second
you
generation.
when did you move here?
I moved here when I was 5.
Oh, I moved to North America when I was 12, so
Right, right. So okay, so we're both like sort of midway between first
first
and second
generation.
generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so we can talk about that as well. And then I don't know, I kept throwing out dating advice, but maybe we don't do dating advice because we actually don't. We could. You know what? If people are interested, we could do dating advice.
Yeah,
No,
we
you
could
don't
do
want to.
it.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So please subscribe if you like this, and we will try to upload, I don't know, at least every couple weeks. Yeah, we are both full-time working people, so as our schedules allow, and just give us a thumbs up or a 5 stars, right? On whatever we post this on. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.